Finally, the evil witch is defeated. Hello everybody, today we have a bit of a different video. Some months ago, another YouTuber called Scott's Thoughts created a race to play through Pokemon Yellow with Parasect as fast as possible. Since I'm not a fan of speedruns, I decided to once again pick up on his open challenge from the Porygon video and do the run using only the move Bide to do damage. Asterisk here. First off, let's talk about the rules. Of course, I had to use the rules that Scott set for the run. They are on screen now and in the description. I'm not going to spend much time on them because you probably saw them 1,000 times. I used Game Hook to give Parasect Bite immediately so I can start using it from the get-go. I wanted to defeat the rival here and skip Route 22 so that he will have a Flareon later in the game. This is risky, but I fear that the other evolutions don't have enough damage for Bide. The first Force Trainer after we leave the lab already proves to be a problem since he tackles do a lot of damage and he manages to knock me out a couple of times. In this attempt I survive on 1 HP and can defeat him. Up next is the Brock fight. The reset number is deceiving as I lost a bunch of times to him to get more levels and those are not counted. The main problem here, and in most of the run, is the fact that Bide has a very limited number of PPs, so if Onyx uses Bide or Bind too much, we lose. Thankfully, in this attempt, I can survive on a sliver of HP and finish the fight in my favor. Next is the reason why not using struggle in this kind of run is almost impossible. This trainer right here is extremely hard to defeat because Bide has low PPs. If it had infinite, he would not be that bad. Trust me on this one, I spent almost 10 hours trying with only Bide in the Polygon run. I would suggest not trying, but if you do, let me know how it goes. The next trainer is the reason why you 100% can't win exclusively with Bide. His second Pokemon is a Metapod that can only use Harden, so no damage to Bite back. The next obstacle in my path is my fault. I wanted to defeat the scientist before the fossil using only Bide and that caused some issues. I kept running out of PPs before his last Pokemon. Grimer rarely attacks with Pound and makes me waste many bites. 50 resets later, I finally get good RNG and take out the Grimer with 5 VPs left. The Voltorb lowers my defense a lot with Screech. This is a two-edged sword since I take more damage, but I can also deal more damage with Bide. Eventually we can take out the fake Pokeball, but we are seriously running out of HP and with only 1 PP things look grim. By some miracle I live on 1 HP while poisoned and bite back to finish the fight. After making my way through Mount Moon again, I decided to fight Misty first. Since she only has 2 Pokemons, there are less chances of PP issues. Stereo spams Tackle, which does not do much damage, but at least it's reliable, so in a couple of turns it goes down. Starmie is a bit scarier. I thought it would do too much damage with the water moves, but instead spends some turns setting up. It gets quite close at the end, but I can survive with a sliver of HP and retaliate back with the Bide. So I defeated her in the first attempt. That's a rarity in Bide runs. Once we get Misty's badge, I have to defeat the rival again. Here my stubbornness makes me attempt him for 6 hours without struggle before giving up. While you can see the close calls in the background, I would like to take a second to propose some rules for the Bide runs. One, against wild Pokémons, you can do whatever. This is to make the grinding doable and to exhaust PPs for struggle. Against the common trainers, you can only deal damage with Bide or struggle, so no Toxic, Leech Seed, etc. But you can use any other move that does no damage in any way. Common trainers are every trainer except the important ones. Against important trainers, aka gym leaders, league members, etc., you have to try to use exclusively Bide to deal damage. I say try because some fights, like Sabrina, are impossible without struggle. Easy fix, you might say. Allow struggle it does. Well, they are not always the same, as I'll explain later. There is another problem though. If you were paying attention, you heard me say that I tried this for 6 hours and failed. I don't think you should suffer through something like that, so feel free to propose in the comments an adequate amount of time and or resets before you can use struggle in these fights too. By the way, spoiler alert, I did not follow the rules in the rest of the run. Eventually, I grew tired of losing with Bide, used all my PPs against wild Pokémons, and took on the rival with struggle. This way he's so much easier. All of his Pokémons are a one-shot, and I have enough HP to leave the recoil. Unfortunately for me, the next big fight is once again against the rival, this time on the SSN ship. His team changed a bit, and it's actually a bit easier. I almost win a couple of times, but the EV knocks me out just before I can finish it. So far, the run has been pretty brain dead, to be honest. We don't have many tools yet, so we can only spam Bide and hope for the best. The successful attempt against the rival is not that different from the failed ones, I just got better RNG. One of the few positive aspects of Bide is the fact that it does not do an accuracy check when you unleash, so it always hits even if you are -6 accuracy. And it also does not Gen 1 miss, at least for what I have seen. So we don't have to worry about sand attacks in this run, which is a big win. And trust me, there are plenty of enemies that love to use that move, especially at the start. It took around 30 reset this time, way less than the almost 300 for Rival 2, and after we grab the Cut HM, we have to face off against Surge. The fight is easy, he only has one Pokemon, and most of his moves don't do that much damage. His best move is Mega Punch, but his AI is not smart enough to use it only in the turns when I'm not binding, so eventually we can take down the Raichu and defeat Surge. Erika is next and she is problematic. The Tangela only uses Bind against me and it does not do much damage, so my bides are also pitiful. I tried to do her with only Bide a few times, but eventually realized that Tangela consumes too many PPs, and so I decided to use Struggle. I should have used all of my moves against a wild Pokemon, but for some reason decided to do so in the gym fight. I also sped up the footage while I spam random attacks. It's not all bad news though, we recently acquired the TM for rest and I immediately taught it to Parasect, so now at least we have some form of recovery. This is going to be essential for the late game fights, as we don't have enough HP to fight them otherwise. After a while, I finally use up all of my PPs and can start taking them out with struggle. The rest of the team is faster than me and can do some damage with acid. Between that and the recoil, my HP gets kinda low, but we managed to defeat her. Guess who the next fight is against? Yeah, it's the rival. This time in the Pokemon Tower and more shenanigans ensure. Fearow here knows Mirror Move, and it is Flying type, so the AI thinks it's super effective, and it only uses that move. For those who don't know, Mirror Move uses the last move used by your opponent, so since we don't have any damaging move, he can't hurt us, so once again, Bide is not an option, and I have to waste all of my Ps against the Pharaoh again. So once again, I'll speed up that part. At least this time there is no bind, so the process takes a little less. It turns out that I'm faster than his team, so I don't have to worry about him doing anything weird. What I have to worry about is the recoil from struggle as it starts adding up, but thankfully I can survive. Next, I decided to do the silph part of the story. While little time passed between the previous fight, my rival's team is much stronger and defeats me a few times. The fight is very long as I need to use rest a lot of times, so I hope you don't mind if I speed up this one too. I would say that around here is the best part of the game. In the early game, you don't have any tools and enemies do little damage, so you just have to hope it works in your favor. In the mid game, where we are at, Bide feels much better to use as you can often one shot opponents and you should have access to most moves. And in the late game, for some reason, cough cough Agatha, there is a lot of RNG that can become very frustrating very fast. The latest addition to my rival's team is a Flareon. It does not start very well as he does good damage while I'm not binding, but then he uses 2 embers and deals a lot of damage to me, but I can survive and buy them back to win the fight. Once the rival is defeated, we can climb higher in the tower. I'm going to skip the fight with Jesse and James as they are very easy and jump straight into the match against Giovanni. From here, most fights will be sped up since the enemy Pokémons are dealing a lot of damage, so I have to heal up with rest multiple times. Also, Bide is a pretty slow way of dealing damage, so each fight takes like 3 to 4 minutes. That would make the video almost 1 hour long, and I don't have enough things to say to fill the air for all that time. Getting back to the Giovanni fight, Persian used some screeches, so my defense is very low. This causes the Nidoqueen to deal a lot of damage with Body Slam. It got kinda close at some point, but eventually I can get rid of the underside dinosaur to finish the fight too. While I only lost once to him, the fight was much longer than expected. Next, I attempted to defeat Sabrina, but it did not go very well for me, so I gave up on her and tried to defeat Koga. Well, somehow this went even worse, so I had to go grind for quite a while. See you in 4 hours or so. After defeating pretty much all of the trainers I could, I faced off against Sabrina again. Her lead only knows Flash, so you must use Struggle for her, but it's not so easy because if they attack you, you might run out of HP and die. It took a few attempts, but nothing crazy. With Sabrina defeated, I have no other choice but to take on Koga again and hope it goes better. The strategy I came up with is a bit weird, as I don't have enough HP to struggle all of them, but I also can't use all of my PPs in battle, otherwise Toxic takes me out. So I went into the fight with only 6 growth, so I can just badge boost to the max. I'm missing a couple of PPs on other moves, but that's just to make it a bit faster, and to be honest, using all the PPs takes forever. Thanks to rest, I can cure toxic, so I don't die from that, and slowly but surely I have to take out the first two Veronats using only Bide. Even if the fight against Koga might not have caused that many resets, it feels like the second worst fight in the game because of all the indirect damage they can do with Toxic and because I have to use up so many moves during the fight. In fact, we are getting in the late game where the fights are not that enjoyable anymore. Initially, I wanted to do a toxic seed run, aka only use leech seed and toxic to abuse the bugged interaction between the two moves, but then I realized that the Parasect does not learn leech seed. While I could have gave it to him anyway with Gamehook, it did not feel right to do. So here we are with Bide. At least this run did not take as long as the Polygon one. Shameless plug in the top right corner. Anyway, when we finally can use Struggle, we can quickly finish Koga, thanks to the extra levels, outspeed Venonat and survive. Our next major opponent is Blaine. He still demolishes me a few times, but that's part of the game. He is also a much more enjoyable fighter than Koga, since there is no trickery involved. I should clarify, I mean on his side. I'm still going to be a scumbag with Spore. While the Ninetales is taking a nap, I use Growth a few times to raise my special and activate the badge boost glitch so that I don't die immediately. Unfortunately, I level up mid-fight, so the boosts are gone, but it's fine. My special is still high, so I should be able to tank a hit or two. The Rapidash survives one bite and starts to troll me. This is why these runs are so frustrating. He misses everything or uses Growl, so my bites don't do anything. Eventually, he hits me and then goes down. The Arcanine, on the other hand, is a lot more scary. If he crits a fire move, I'm dead. It's as simple as that. After healing up, I can start biting again. It goes okay, I guess, and it looks like I will take it out, but nope, he survives with a sliver of HP, and then Blaine potions him. So I'm forced once again to put him to sleep and restore my HP too. I waste some turns while he sleeps before going for the last bite. He gets a critical hit, but thankfully it's only takedown so we can finish the penultimate gym fight. Up next is the fight against Giovanni. How bad can he be, right? Wrong, very wrong. I'm going to skip the 100 attempts and go straight to the good one. Every single one of his Pokémons is a problem in one way or the other. Dugtrio can put you 6 feet under using Fissure, and it takes a while since he only has resisted the ground moves. Also, you might have noticed that the timer and my level jumped up a bit. Yeah, I had to spend another 4 hours training. The things I do for content. I did use some rare candies, about half of them. I'm saving the others for the league in case of emergency. Persian is easier, but he managed to defeat me a couple of times because he can lower my defense to -6 with screeches. Those stat drops are kinda welcome to be honest, because I'm going to need all the attack I can for his ace. Eventually, I can take out the Naked Cat and proceed to Brutus and Judas, aka Nidoqueen and Nidoking. I call them that because they betrayed me. I was expecting them to attack me, but instead they only use Tail Whip, and this is why my PPs were once again weird at the start of the match. Props if you noticed that on your own. The plan is to max my attack and then win with struggle. There are only a couple of problems. I will take 258 recoil damage, so that's why I'm at such high level. The second problem is that I can't one-shot the Rhydon, so I have to dodge a rock slide, and that's a 1 in 5. third problem, remember Dactrio, his fourth move is Sand Attack, and while Bide is not affected, Struggle sure is. I'm not mad, you are very mad. And Giovanni is too, since I finally managed to take him out. It was definitely an RNG heavy fight, but it felt good to finally win with such a wacky tactic. For the next fight, I broke the third of my rules, which were not already in place, so who cares. We have to fight our rival one more time before the league. His team is more or less the same as the silph one, and the fight starts out quite well. Sand Slash deals good damage, so he is easy. But the new addition is troublesome. Execute can only deal a small amount of damage to me, which means that I can't deal back much damage to him either. This causes me to use a lot of Bide's PPs to take out the half dozen eggs or seeds, nobody knows. Because of this, I end up running out of PPs before the fight ends. I could and maybe should have spent some more time against him to see if I could do it with only Bide, but I was already tired from the Giovanni fight, so I decided to use Struggle, even if I only attempted him like 4 times. Magneton 2 doesn't cooperate, so I end up running out of bites against him. The only problem is that I still have a lot of uses for the other moves, so it took a while to use them all, as usual. Maybe I should throw out an epilepsy warning. I'm not sure if it is needed, but it's better to be safe than sorry, because thanks to the power of editing, you don't have to sit through it. We can enable super duper speed and be done with it in no time. This is a 700% speed compounded with the retroarch 4 times means 28 times faster than the Game Boy Color. Once I can use Struggle, the rest of the fight is very easy. Thanks to my level, I can one-shot his last few Pokémons. And with that, we finally made it to the league. Here's a quick review of how Parasect will start the league. The first member of the gauntlet is Lorelei. She took a couple of attempts, but overall 7 tries is nothing compared to what we endured so far. For her, I don't have any particular strategy. She will use a lot of ice moves since they are super effective, so Bide can shine, but you also have to make sure to not die in the meantime. Crits are somewhat common and can be deadly, but the biggest problem is freezes, since there is no way to thaw out in Generation 1. Even in the successful attempt, it gets close a couple of times, especially against her last 2 Pokémons, since they have a ton of special attack and can defeat me very easily. But that also means that if I can survive, they are going to take a ton of damage to close an eye and ignore the clown fiesta that happened against Lapras. The important part is that ultimately Lorelei is defeated, and to be honest, I enjoyed that fight. I would do it again. We can move on to the next member. Even with our scuffed setup, Bruno is the easiest fight in the league. I just lost twice to him to crits. I thought the Onyxes would take longer, but between their not so bad moves and their low HP, it does not take many bites to take them out. Hitmonchan is the scariest Pokemon, since his punches have secondary effects that can also lead to a loss. Hitmonlee can hit pretty hard if he does not use double kick. He trolls me a bit, but this time in a different manner, by using his strong moves only when I'm not binding. His second Onyx is actually kinda scary. It starts spamming Rock Slide, and because of the defense debuffs, I end up taking a lot of damage. Bruno's ace Machamp is pretty much the same story. After I heal up, I can bide him and defeat him. And now it's time for Agatha. So I start at 817 resets. Guess how many she takes? Yeah, about 300. Seems fair. So here's the grocery list of problems with her. She has ghost types, therefore in Gen 1 struggle does not hit her. She has confusion and sleep that can interrupt Bide. She has toxic to do a lot of poison damage. Arbok can kill you with 4 times super effective poison moves, and Golbat the same with flying ones. Most of her Pokémon deal little damage, so you will run out of Bite PPs. It might seem like we are at an immovable object, but there is one secret mechanic passed down the generation by Shaolin monks. If we mimic Confuse Ray and confuse them, and they hit themselves while we are biting, that damage adds to the bite damage, so we can take them out semi-reliably. A lot of emphasis on semi. Of course, all the previous mentioned problems still apply, so don't think even for a second that this fight was easy. Well, after a lot of trials and tribulations, we managed to defeat the evil witch. I will never do her again like this until the next race. The last member of the Elite Four is Lance. He turned out to be a problem for two reasons: unexpected one, aka Aerodactyl destroying me with Wing Attack, and an unexpected one, aka getting frozen by Dragonair. Seriously, in 50 attempts I got frozen like 10 times. That's partially because I decided to set up against him, so I got hit by like 13 ice beams, so maybe that one is on me. Strangely enough, I never reached his last Dragonite before the final attempt. I needed the buffs to my special stats, otherwise I fear that the Dragonite will kill me before I can bite him. But they also cause me to take longer against this Dragonair. Ultimately, I took advantage of Mimic in this fight too. I copied the Thunder Wave from the first Dragonair so that I could use it against Aerodactyl, making him slower and more manageable. Even with the boosts, Dragonite is still troublesome. I need some time to recover HP before I can use Bite. I paralyze him too, so hopefully he does not kill me while I rest. Thankfully, it all works out and I can take it out with a single bite. With Lance defeated, there is only one more trainer left in the game. The fight against the champion turned out to be quite hard and costed me a good number of resets. Like in the last fight against him before the leak, the main problem here is the PPs. I could have used Struggle against him, but I really wanted to only use Bide. I mean, it's the last fight in the game, I have to. Thanks to weird Gen 1 mechanics, I don't die to the poison. Alakazam is a bit annoying since it can waste my time and PPs by using Recover, but the main problem is Executor. He can do very little damage to me because Solar Beam is resisted and Bide only counters the first hit from Barrage. I also mimic Hypnosis from him as it could be useful later when I have to rest. Luckily for me, this time he uses a lot of stomps, so I can finish him in a reasonable amount of bites. Our troubles are not over though, since we are just halfway through his team. As we saw earlier, Magneton can also be a waste of PPs, but this time he sort of solves the problem for me, since he lowers our defense with a lot of screeches and then deals okay damage with Swift, so I can defeat him with just a couple more bites. With just 2 Pokémon left, we are in a good spot, but it could still end badly. I can use the Hypnosis I copied earlier, to safely get back to full HP before taking out the cloister with one more bide. I employed the same strategy against Flareon, but this time I have to waste some turns before he wakes up. Once he does, I can start another bide, but he also starts a fire spin, trapping me in it. Thanks to my maxed special, it barely tickles me. When he stops, I start the last bite. This time he flamethrowers me, so the damage back from bite is enough to take it out, and with that we are done. I was hoping for a sub 30, but I'm not going to do the run again, so I'll take it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my suffering. Please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and all of that YouTube stuff. And also, if you have a moment, leave a comment. All feedback is welcome, and I would love an input for the Bide run rules. See you next week. Bye!